Okay, welcome everyone. Good morning. Welcome to New York. I feel like I should be playing that Taylor Swift song. Really. Anyway, I'm Catherine Bracy. I am the Director of Partnerships and Ecosystem at Code for America. But 2.5 years ago, I started working at Code for America to start Code for America's international program, which was, think about it, a little bit of a weird kind of program for Code for America to be running. But we were inspired by all the great work that's happening around the world in the civic hacking space and the number of people that were coming to us when we were still a startup, just a few years old, saying, we really want to do this Code 4 thing where we live. Can you help us? And our answer for a long time was no, mostly because we don't even know how this thing works in the US, let alone how it translates across borders. But eventually, Jen Palka, our founder, who is sitting over here, said, it's clear that this is a movement, there's critical mass here, and all of our work will be better if it's connected. So let's take the lead and try to connect the groups around the world that are doing this work. And so Code for All was born. That was 2 years ago when this picture was taken. This was the extent of Code for All in 2013. And that woman in the back was not part of Code for All. She just happened to be waiting at the bus with us. And so it's really great to see how much it's grown and the effect that we've had. And the reason for starting this program, the reason for us to step out and say, we as Code for America will help start an international network of civic hackers was really made real for me this morning when where's Temi from Nigeria, came up. Temi spent several weeks here in New York working with Beta NYC, run by Noel, who's also in the room somewhere, learning about how this whole civic hacking thing was happening and thinking about how he could go translate it back to Nigeria when he went home. And then he emailed me, and we connected them to Code for Africa, and now David and Justin from Code for Africa are partnering with Temi to start and build a program in Nigeria. So that, for me, is the real manifestation of what Code for All is for. It's people who want to do this work in their country and are easily connected into a network of people and resources that can help make it happen. So could everyone who's we have 9 official partners now. We started with 3. Well, actually 8. We're going to add Code for Japan very shortly. Hal, I know we owe you an email. So that little space down there is reserved for Code for Japan. We started with Code for the Caribbean, Code for Mexico City, and Code for Germany. And now we have obviously expanded our official partners around the world. And there are many more dozens of people from around the world who are looking to programs where they live. We're also really happy to be joined by a set of Code for America's brigade leadership. So if you're a Code for America brigade leader, can you raise your hand? So the brigade program is also another program that is under the sort of ecosystem bucket of work. And so we're really happy to be able to connect our brigade leadership with the Code for All partners, because I think there's a lot of, we had a meeting yesterday with the brigade leaders about what the future of the brigade was going to be, and so many of the questions that we're asking there are relevant for the questions that the Code for All partners are asking as well. So I think there's going to be a lot to learn from each other. So having said that, this is going to be a day or two of learning. So there will be obviously people talking, but we really want to be focused on action, not talking about what we're doing. There will be that, but more importantly, how we're doing it, where the gaps are, what things we're learning, where the challenges are, and how we need to build our programs to be most successful going forward. We exist because Code for All exists because we think we need to break down these silos between programs, and this is one of the biggest opportunities we have, getting people together face-to-face in a room to have those conversations. So I'm hoping that today can be very reflective and illuminating as well as celebratory. So there'll be 2 types of sessions. We'll have what we're calling spotlights, and these are a few of the partner programs in Code for All who will give short talks about what they're up to, but also what they're learning, what challenges they're facing, to sort of spark ideas about how we might collaborate more. And then we'll have panels that are 3 panels that are addressing what we feel like are the big kind of existential pressing questions for our movement. How we know we're making progress and how we measure that progress. How we structure our programs to be sustainable in the unique cultural and political context where we operate. And how we engage government, which is the industry or the sector that we are primarily, hopefully, eventually trying to influence. How do we engage government to make structural change and bring them in as collaborators to our work, which is a different challenge in different countries. So in order for that to work, we need everyone's participation. The panels are purposefully long. They're 75 minutes each, and that could be, that's risky. It could be boring, except that I know it won't be because you guys are going to chime in, and the moderators know that they are supposed to be engaging you guys as quickly and as often as possible because there's as much knowledge sitting out there as there will be on the stage. So please don't feel shy about raising your hand and engaging. There will be mics running around the room. And so don't sit on your hands. At the end of the day, we're going to do something. This is like my favorite thing to do. We were going to have a keynote. I decided it didn't really fit the spirit of the Code for All network. And so instead, we're going to do something we call spectrograms. Has anyone done a spectrogram before? Oh my gosh, lots of people. So basically, this is it's a human, it's not cheesy. It's going to sound cheesy when I describe it, but I promise it's really fun. So when we break, we'll go get some drinks. We're going to move the chairs around, and then we'll come back in here, and we're going to put out some prompts. Like I'll say something like, WikiLeaks is good for the world. And that won't be one of the questions, but that's an example. People would, really fully agree with that statement, stand over here, really strongly disagree, stand on this side of the room. And then there's sort of like the middle ground here, and people spread themselves out across the spectrum based on that, how strongly they feel about that statement. And then there's a little bit of facilitated discussion about why people feel that way. And if someone makes a very convincing case, you can move where you stand on the spectrum accordingly. So that's just a really good way to kind of surface the feeling in the room and understand, how we are all feeling about some of the big questions that are facing our movement. If you have prompts or questions that you want to ask, you can write them down. There are Post-its out front, and you can stick them on the board out there or give them to me or to Julia, and we'll make sure to incorporate them into that. So don't miss that part. It's going to be really fun. Okay, so before I turn it over to Julia, who's going to lead us into the first set of spotlights. By the way, can everyone give Julia a big round of applause? Because she... So Julia runs Code for Germany, and it was in our fun picture here somewhere. She's hiding behind the FIFA. She's been with us since the beginning, and she decided, it being Europe and having such forward-thinking things as like month-long vacations and that sort of thing, she decided instead of going to the beach, she would come to San Francisco for the month of July and help us actually organize this event. Without her help, I promise you would not be in this room right now. So I'm really grateful to Julia for giving her time. And that's the spirit of the Code for All network, because everyone kind of rolls up their sleeves and does what needs to be done in order for this movement to work. So big thanks to Julia. Speaking of thanks, Stacy in the room? Yeah, don't be shy. Stacy Donahue, who from the Omidyar Network, is really the fairy godmother of the civic technology movement. Code for All would not exist if it wasn't for Stacy. Code for America would not exist if it weren't for Stacy. And Civic Hall, this room we're sitting in, would not exist if it weren't for Stacy. And so a huge thanks to Stacy and the Omidyar Network for the support. Not just of Code for All, but of the civic tech movement generally. And she's also, I'm on a couple of nonprofit boards, and I'm not very good at it, so I can appreciate what a great board member Stacy is. Code for All wouldn't be what it is without you. I also want to thank Mika Sifri. Is Mika? I thought I saw him rock in. And Andrew Richet, who I don't think is here. Founders of Civic Hall, this beautiful space that we're all in right now. which if you're not already members, you should become members of, and they're very reasonable monthly rates, and the programming, as evidenced by this event we're holding right now, is really top-notch. So Civic Hall is our, we're based in San Francisco. I think of it as sort of our East Coast crash pad. We're bi-coastal, and Civic Hall is our home on the East Coast. And I also, of course, want to thank our sponsors for the day. Of course, Omidyar Network, who sponsors Code for All, Tropo, Open Datasoft, and Ian Henshaw is here from Open Datasoft, also a brigade captain in North Carolina, thank you, and Internet Society, who is doing the live stream today. So thank you guys for that. And Microsoft, who also is a sponsor of Civic Hall and has done a ton of work in the last year and a half on really seeding the civic tech ecosystem across the US and hopefully soon, maybe around the world. And so we want to thank Microsoft for making this event possible and invite John Paul Farmer from New York's Director of Civic Technology. Okay. The king of civic technology in New York City, John Paul Farmer, to come say a few words.
Thank you, Catherine. It's super exciting to be here. This is such an incredible event. Obviously, I am not a king. None of us are. And that's what's beautiful about this movement, is that no one's a king, no one's a queen. It takes all of us to work on it together. So I was going to say all the things Catherine just said, thank all the people you just thanked. Instead, I'll simply say what Code for America has done is incredible. What Civic Hall has done just in the last 6 months or so with a community that's now reached over 500 people here. We hope that all of you will become involved, even from afar. And I also just want to say that I'm really looking forward to the spectrograms. Those are awesome. And I learned them from Jen a few years ago. And I want to tell you a little bit about what Microsoft's doing. So just a year and a half ago, Satya Nadella became the CEO of Microsoft, and the company started changing in some pretty profound ways. I can't go through them all today. You might have heard Windows 10 just came out, so there are a lot of things like that. But also, the company chose to invest in civic tech, in putting teams into local areas, into Boston, New York, Chicago, the Bay Area, and again, hopefully many more over time. And what we're doing is we're collaborating with these communities on the things that matter to them. How can we use technology to address the shared social problems, the stuff that matters to the many, not just the few, as Mika likes to say. And we've had a great time doing it. We've got to know a lot of the folks here, from Noel and Beta NYC, to folks in the academic sector, in local government. And our belief is that we can all do a lot more together than apart. That's why the company has embraced open source in a way it never had before. It's why our team has been working on everything from data analytics to 21st century jobs, skills, and opportunity to smarter and more responsive and resilient cities. We can't do this alone. We know that we don't have all the answers. We want to plug into the networks here in New York, but also all around the world, the people who have that local knowledge. So there's one thing I want to show you. It's called the Civic Graph. And if we can pull that up really quickly, this is a project that our team started, but we don't want to own this. We want this actually to be owned by the community, and it's a crowdsourced knowledge base. So most of the data in there was put in there by someone other than us, people who know much more about their own communities than we do. And what you're looking at is in red, you're seeing governmental entities, in green, for-profits, blue are nonprofits, and yellow are individuals. And it shows how they're connected, either by funding or by sharing data or by some kind of collaboration where no money actually changes hands. And again, this only exists because people in New York, in San Francisco, in Dallas, in London, in Singapore have chosen to put data in. So I want to encourage everyone here, since you are from around the world, since it is Code for All, you know your countries much better than we do. You know your networks, you know your cities, your communities. Please put yourselves on this map. Just upper right, hit add new information. It's that easy. So go to civicgraph.io, put yourselves on the map, put your community on the map, and show how you're connected to this growing civic tech movement around the world. And with that, I want to just encourage you to have a fantastic day. Keep doing the amazing work you're doing, and we're happy to be a part of it. Thank you.
Okay, speaking of things you can do today, make sure you tweet and follow us on Twitter. This is a little bit of our coming out party, so you'll notice that we only have a couple hundred followers on Twitter, and we're trying to get that number up, so let's use this hashtag all day long. We're also being live streamed at codeforall.org/summit, so if you want to add that link to any of the tweets that you send out, it'd be great to get people who aren't in the room dialed in to what we're doing. Any other logistical things I'm forgetting, Julia? bathrooms are right behind us, and I think that's about it. Wi-Fi password is on the agenda. Okay, so with that, I'm going to hand it over to Julia, who's going to lead us into our first round of